And we are live. Hello and welcome to the Lion Show. It's your host, your favorite business coach, Robert Lyon. And today we have the great pleasure of talking to the myth, the legend, Victor Manzo Jr., my man. How are you doing today?
Oh, brother, I'm doing amazing. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. So, but I know you're a chiropractor, you're a mindset coach, spiritual coach. But why don't you kind of introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about you and what you got going on?
Yeah, so I've been a pediatric chiropractor for the last 12 years. Been having a blast with that. And then about 3 years ago, I was starting to I wanted to get into the coaching realm for entrepreneurs. That was a big push for mine just because of the information that's shared. It didn't align with the stuff I knew from the laws of the body or the laws of nature, even the laws of the universe, what's being told. Like you have to grind, you have to hustle, you got to put the sweat equity in, you got to more effort means more success. You got to work very, very hard. You got to get less sleep. I mean, this is just things that we hear. And so 3 years ago, I started doing that on the side as being a chiropractor. And just recently, this year, I went full time into coaching, and I've kind of let go the chiropractic side for now. In the pursuit of my goal is to, I have a vision of like helping 1,000 entrepreneurs and half of that being chiropractors to really lead a fulfilled life in a way to get out of this conditioning and programming what we've been taught. So that's kind of where I'm at right now in my journey.
Cool, man. And wait, did you say you were a pediatric chiropractor? So like for kids?
Yeah, I was last couple of years. In the last year and a half, I was actually a certified pediatric chiropractor, but I did it over like 3.5 years. But it was one of those things where, it was a lot of fun working with kids. It's one of my biggest joys.
It's definitely a little different, but you're doing good stuff. Kids, if they're out of whack, they don't even know it, and their parents don't even know it. So if you can get in there and really kind of, crack them and get them in alignment and get them feeling better and on with their lives, man, that's a good thing. So I know you're a chiropractor and I know you just want to help people. So I get that vibe. I think that's really cool. So just tell me a little bit more about what you're doing now. So what is a mindset coach? How did your mindset coach journey kind of start?
So it's all mixed into one, and it all started around 12 years old, to be honest. I always had a curiosity to the mind, but in the sense of it wasn't in that realm per se, or that context. It was more of why do people suffer versus why do people don't? Why are they rich and why is they poor? Why is some athlete great and absolutely amazing while someone who's isn't? And I remember telling my mom at 12, I'm going to figure this out. So that was always in the back of my mind and everything I did. I used mindset, and when it came to sports and how to overcome things, I started to learn it very early on, like around 14 years old. I remember I was playing freshman baseball. I'll never forget, like it was in my head, I used to have this dialogue. No, I'm just not good enough. This is a good picture. He's better than me. And then all of a sudden I would strike out. My batting average was like at 140. And thankfully I had coaches who believed in me. And at the end of the year, I turned that around to 380. And that was halfway in the season. I was already at 140, 150. So you can imagine how much of a hot streak I had to get on for the rest of the season to get it up to 380. And I realized it was just my mindset. And so when I got into chiropractic school, I didn't just go to chiropractic school. I also, on the outside, I was doing energy medicine. I wanted to learn the depths of healing in the profession. The guy who created it, Adhd Palmer, he talked about this thing called tone. And it's now we're just, 1895, he's talking about this. We're just coming out with studies now to show how what he was talking about was true. And I was like, man, we don't talk about this in school? I want to learn more about this tone thing. And so as I went through that journey, and that took me down a whole spiritual journey also, because I got into spirituality. I started studying, the afterlife, the current life. What is our soul? What's spirituality in general? Why do we come here? All this kind of questions. And after time, when I got out in business, that's where I started to put this stuff together. And it took me 5 years to hit my financial peak. And then I was like, you know what? I stopped listening to a lot of people because I was burned out. I was not satisfied, which was weird. I thought I would be. Right. And then all of a sudden I said, you know what, forget all the noise I've been studying. I mean, I was reading 80 to 120 books a year. I was listening to podcasts all the time, listening to videos all the time, listening to books. I rarely listened to music. That's how just hardcore I was about this. And I got to a point where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to take everything I know, spirituality, universal laws. I'm going to take in neuroscience. I'm going to pull in quantum physics, the power of the mind. I'm going to do all that I can, limiting beliefs. And I'm just going to apply this in my life and see what happens. And it was amazing. I worked less instead of more. I cut my hours by 50%. I made more in that process, which is not common. I got to choose my success and make it happen. Like I got to choose it the way I wanted to have it, and it happened the way I wanted. And from there, I was like, well, man, I would love to teach this. I want to put this together in some way to teach people. And I was just all over the place because I'm like, I can go to the spirituality side. I can go to this side. I can talk about this. And that's what led me to the mind, because everything starts and ends in the mind. How you see your world is what it's going to be. That is a spiritual truth. It's been told 3,000-4,000 years ago. What you see in your mind's eye is what you're going to see in your reality. And those are things that have been told over and over and over for so long, but quantum physics also proves it. And it was fascinating when I started to see that. That's how I started to go in my world. I shifted gears to pediatrics, and I was like, I want to help change the health of children because it's going downhill. I want to be able to work with moms. I started seeing all the moms in my office congregating together, hanging out outside my office, getting together and having play dates. I saw this all in my head. And guess what? It happened exactly how I saw it. And I haven't been in practice now for 8 months, 9 months. And I just love seeing on social media where the moms are commenting on each other's stuff. And they all met because of my office. I'm like, see, this is what I wanted to create. So It was coming back to the mindset side to utilize these things to make that a reality for me.
As I go through my own journey and I've been doing my own thing, I'm realizing like almost the best mindset is just, blank. It's like that space when you're meditating or when you're on a walk and you find that thing and you're not thinking about anything. And then you can start to level up your experience where you can actually feel the emotions you want to feel and so on and so forth. So I'd kind of like to hear your perspective, because there's a lot to unpack in the story that you just kind of said. It's like, you're able to see now what you want. And could you go a little bit deeper into, I guess, what you're teaching and how you're actually seeing results, I guess, because mindset, you can go in so many different rabbit holes. Spirituality, it's the same thing. But if you've actually found a little thing that kind of works, what is it that kind of worked for you to get those results?
So the biggest and easiest thing for me when I help with my clients and get really big results is having them focus and create a vision for their life. Because if you look at it in any aspect, you can go through the spiritual context of everything they talk about. It's all vision first. It's all seeing in mind's eye. If you look at quantum physics, it says how you see life is what it's going to be, right? Wayne Dyer said you either live in a hostile universe or a friendly universe. Either way, that's what you're going to experience based on what you see. And so even in the brain, the reticular activating system, everything is, but the reticular activating system, there's a lot of things it does. But one of the things is it filters out all the millions of bits of information per second that is not deemed valuable to you. It only allows you to see and be conscious of what is valuable. And so vision is critically important to start there, because that is you're setting the page, you're setting the tone, you're setting here, this is what I want to experience, but it's visualization. So it's seeing an image, it's seeing yourself and your future self, and then be able to visualize what does that look like? How do we get the 5 senses involved with that? The more brain activity we can get into that perspective, the more we can start to create the vibe, the feeling, to now start to pull in universal laws to help. You're working with the laws now, because now you're going to set your vibration, which then is going to lead to the law of attraction, which then is going to lead to the law of manifestation. And so that is like the biggest thing that I work on with my clients to get. And that's the first thing I work on. We work on your vision and we map it out in many different ways. There's your main vision of life, why you're here, what's your purpose, what are you here to serve and give and do? And then from there, we break that down into 5 elements of life, I call it, which are the 5 M's, which are all going to be basically mindset, movement, marriage, which is your relationships, movement's also your physical health, mission, which is how you want to serve the world. And those could be passion projects, businesses, things like that. And then money, creating why do you want to make money? What is the importance of wanting to have money, and so forth. So those are that's the kind of step process that I have people go through, because once we can define that, we can get really crystal clear on that. It's so easy to do everything else, because now the actions, the things you have to create, the ideas, the people, the situations, it will start to come to you, or you'll have a system now that if it doesn't align with your vision, you don't do it. And it keeps you centered and keeps you straightforward on what you're doing.
I missed one. I got mindset, movement, marriage, and money. What you said there was 5?
Mission. Yeah. So
mission. That's a good idea. See, I don't want to miss that. I like the vision, man. I love the vision. It's like, I think we've been hearing it forever. Steve Covey, everybody says, you got to have, reverse engineer your life. Right. And then you basically take people. So they create this vision, and then do you make them do like a vision board, or is it just like before you go to sleep, think about what you want, wake up with it, feel it? Like how do you get a little more into that?
Yeah. So I have a process that they go through to where they tap into a vibration or a feeling that is a high vibration. So something that makes them happy, joy, inspired, something along those realms. And it doesn't have to be their future self. If they can go into that future self, great. Some people can, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to get them into a high vibrational state first. And then we look at what is the life that you want to create. So you can use a vision board. It's a tool to use. Some people like it, some don't. You can use visualization. You can journal. There's many ways you can do it.
Right.
I really let my client choose what works best for them because it's all about what's going to work for them. Like me, I don't like journaling. I like visualization. I visualize all the time. It's easy for me to do. But for someone else, they love journaling. They don't like visualization, or maybe they like to do both, whatever that may be. But it's getting into that vibe, and then you start to see your future self. What does that look like? What's that being that you want to be? How are they walking? How are they this? How are they that? And then the purpose of that is to, again, stay in this high vibe state. But then I bring in a third element, which is going to be, how do we use this beautiful thing called our body, which is the most technologically advanced thing? How can we use this to help create awareness to stay in that vibe, to know when we're in that alignment? Because that vibration, when you're feeling that good, when you have a vision, right? This is all law of vibration stuff coming in. Because when you have this vision, you have this feeling that comes up. It's going to show up in your body somewhere. Some people have it in the heart. Some have it in the stomach. Some have it in their head, throat, back. It can show up somewhere. For me, it's my stomach. And that good vibe feeling, the reason why that's so critical is because once I can have them get used to this and we train the mind to know, hey, when we feel this, that's our aligning to our future self. When I feel this, I'm aligned with my vision. And when we start to do that, that starts now that, go ahead.
Sorry, that's powerful, man. That's cool. That is cool. Cause like, yeah, I've been, the vibe is important. I also believe that you don't just get what you want, right? So all the manifestation, you get what you become, right? So the idea of that you can find that vibration, and when you feel that vibration in a specific, we'll say chakra or whatever it is, there's lots of different ways to put it. You're saying that once you feel that, that's the direction to go. That's a powerful thing to epiphany, I guess is the word or whatever,
It is, because here's the problem. We're so stuck in our heads, right? You look at the standard business advice. They're going to tell you what to think, not how to think, because you'll say, well, here's the 5 things to do this, or the 3 things to do this, or here's the 10 things to do that. And we're conditioned that way. Even I have to catch myself. Hey, how do I do that? Well, I forget the how, or, I don't have to worry about the house. Just get into the feeling. It's a totally different way of looking at things, because in the world that we have come from, since Newtonian physics has been evolved. I don't know when Newtonian was around. Is it 1700s, late 1700s, 1800s? Anyhow, but long story short, Newtonian physics is all about action, do, effort, all those things. But there's a cost to that. In the quantum world, there isn't. And when you tap into feelings, you don't have to think. You don't have to figure it out. You just got to get to the vibe. And That's really what life's all about. And it's a whole different world. And the reason why I say that too is because sometimes when I first started coaching, I tell people, hey, I've 3x my sales in 2 years, and I had profits of 5.5x increase just in 2 years. Then everyone's asking, well, what did you do? What's the system? How did you do? What'd you do here? What'd you do here? And I'm like, I didn't do anything. And they're like, what do you mean you didn't do anything? I said, if I give you the formula, it's going to sound crazy. And I'll share it right here. I just went into a state every morning. I visualized loving my patients, and I saw the interactions of what I want to have, what I felt in those interactions. And it was just having those moments and just getting clear every single day. When I walked in my office, I would walk through the room with that feeling and just saying, it's going to be a great day. Here's the energy that I'm putting out there. And that's all I did. And in 6 months, we broke records in my office. And this is after taking a 40% hit chosen by me when I made the transition in my office. So it's not something that is out there and attainable. It's a different way of doing things. But it's a way that you don't have to have all the burnout and stuff, because I've lived both worlds. I've lived the Newtonian world where I got burned out every 4 to 6 months. And I'm someone who loves being a chiropractor and practicing. Right. And then the last 5 to 6 years, I never had burnout. I was satisfied and fulfilled. I was enjoying being in the office. I look forward to going. If I was in a bad mood, I was like, I can't wait to go to the office because I'm going to have a blast there, because that became my happy place because of, again, the visualization and the work that I did.
That's incredible, man. That's really cool. Isn't it funny though, that in order for you to figure all this stuff out, I'm the same way. I read books nonstop. I listen to podcasts. I buy all the courses. I go to all the stupid events and things like that. And then you finally get to the point where it's a simple answer. It's a come back, breathe, shut your mind up, visualize what's going to be good for you. And that's how you do it. And it just seems so counterintuitive to everything in the world. Like this, it's like everything has been designed to like put us in a state of needing and wanting and suffering and shenanigans. But the pure things, the way things that we can get out of life are simple. And it's not, because like we're just human beings. We've been around for a long time. But if we wake up, we go for a walk, we visualize what we want our day to be, we get into the vibration of what it is that we want, right? And then the vibration is going to come to us. And it's kind of strange, and it's kind of whimsical, magical stuff. But when you do it, right, you see it, right? You're kind of living proof that this works in a way. I don't really have a question. I think it's just kind of funny that like once you study all the books, you've learned all the things, you find out that it's just such a simple process, and it's so counterintuitive. It's interesting.
Well, it's like everything else. We're trained and conditioned, and this is ancestral. So we're trained and conditioned to look outside ourselves. There was I think it's in the Hindu scriptures where Brahma, the main point of the story is they were looking at the secrets of life, and they said they were seeking out. They're like, okay, where did they store it? So the humans were like, okay, we're gonna go look in the mountains. And maybe they put it in the mountains. They searched all the mountains, it wasn't there. Then they're like, well, it wasn't there. So how about in the ocean? And they went down in the deepest depths of the ocean. Didn't find it there. They said maybe God put it in the sky. So they went up into the sky, flow all around the sky, couldn't find it. Then as the time came, their time was coming to an end. They found out and realized that it was here within us all along. And the reason why God did that was because humans will always look outside themselves, never within. And you brought up a great point. This is something I want to tack on because it's one of those things where I talk about something called effortless action. Those are not my quotes. Effortless action. Actually, I've heard it first from Wayne Dyer. But I've added that to say effortless action leads to effortless success. When you hear those terms in a business world, you're going to think that's absolutely crazy. But you brought up a point that leads to that. You're talking about getting to that vibrational state. And I always tell people everything's vibration, because once you get into that vibrational state, then all of a sudden the ideas, people, circumstances, whatever it may be, is going to come to you to help you achieve that vision, that goal, whatever it is that you want, as long as you're in that vibrational state. And something I've been practicing in the last year is anytime I'm a type A driver personality. I've getting better over time. I've been really trying to slow that down even more than the last 5 years. Yeah. But one of the things I'm doing now is like, anytime I get anxious when I don't have things to do. Like if I did all my work and I'm done, I'm like, oh, I got to do more. I got to keep going. And I've gotten to a point where I'm like, no, I'm done. Once I'm like, sometimes I'm done in an hour and my day's done. Like all the work I needed to get done was done in an hour. And I'm like, all right, the rest of the day, I'm going to go do self-care. I'm going to go out to nature. I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to go meditate. I have a cold plunge. I'll go with my cold plunge a couple more times. I'll take the dog for an extra walk, but I'm going to connect and do things for myself. And what I found out is then the next day I wake up more refreshed and I have these ideas that come to me. I'm like, oh my God, I got to do this. And I'm propelled to do that. Like I'm inspired to take action. That is effortless action. I didn't have to think it. I didn't try to figure it out. It just came to me. Or I've been wanting to do a speaking gig and I kept seeing in my head, I'm like, I want to get on a speaking gig, with a big audience. And all of a sudden, 2 weeks ago, I get an email out of nowhere and someone's like, hey, want to have you, I'm doing this event and we have a big following. Would you want to come and be a part of this? I think you can speak really well on this. I read your book, this and that and so forth. And I'm like, absolutely. I would love to. Yeah. And did I have to do anything? Did I think it? Did I try to figure it out, reach out to 1,000 people before that happened? Because that's the teaching, right? I had a coach that was like this. It was like, you got to go reach out to this many people. And after this many people, then it's a percentage of this. And this is what's going to get to the call. Then let's get to the call to this, right? This guy makes $1 million a year. He's doing something right. But I don't want to have that. After like 8 months, 9 months, I was burned out. And I'm like, I don't like doing this. This is not me. Right. And so, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back to my old roots. This is what I understand about the laws. This is how they work. I've done it before multiple times. And I'm like, I'm just going to step into my zone and get into the vibe. And then all of a sudden things will come when the timing's right. And the timing's right when your vibe's right. So I just wanted to add on to that.
I love that you like Wayne Dyer. His son just wrote a book called Decoding Wayne Dyer, which I think is hilarious. Somebody had to, right? It was his son, though. So he's like, what my dad was actually talking about.
Oh, I got to get that. I love Wayne Dyer is somebody who I loved his work. For some reason, every time I hear him talk, it's like he's speaking to my soul. He's somebody who, are you into Napoleon Hill's work, Think and Grow Rich?
Yeah. I mean, I read all.
So have you ever done the boardroom?
Yeah. I haven't I think about it sometimes. I'm like, who would be in my boardroom? Who's sitting at my table?
No, I was just gonna say, like, on my some people on my board, in my board, one of them is Wayne Dyer. The thing about the whole boardroom is just who current living or who has been in the past that you want to learn how to connect with and to get inspired wisdom from. But at the essence, it's just cool to have that, because I do that not every day, but like maybe like once a week or once every other week. I'll be like, okay, board members, I have a whole list of who they are, and I'm just like, whoever wants to come forth, give me an idea and information. Just, let me not make sure that how it shows up, that I can't miss it. I don't care who it is, because I don't get into any of that stuff. I just want to know, like, whatever it may be. And it's fascinating because there will come advice. There will come something that comes through. And I'm just like, holy cow, I didn't see that. Holy cow, that's pretty deep.
So I want to talk about, it's something that I've never actually really heard many people talk about, but it's just, it takes work to figure this stuff out, like to get to the point where you can hold on to that vibe. Like if you try and explain what we're talking about to people that have never done any spirituality, never done any vibe or visualization, it's not like an instant thing that I think people think about. I think we have to go through this process to get to the point, right, where we're able to hold on to a vibe for a longer period of time. We're able to feel certain emotions. We're able to shut our mind off and things like that. And I want to ask the most terrible question, but it's like, how long do you think it takes to manifest something? Or how long do you think it takes to actually get to the point where, like abundance and life is like shooting rainbows?
No, of course. Yeah. Anytime, really, to be honest. Because here's the thing. Here, let me just hear me out on this. You've done it already. Everyone has. We've all been master manifestors. We've been masters of staying in a vibe. It's called being a kid. We were like that as children.
Wow.
You see, we come in the purest form. We get some moms and dads get very upset. Our adults get mad when parents get mad when I say this. But I'm like, our children come in pure, and then we as adults tarnish them.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's just true. But that element, look at a child at 3 years old. Hang out with them. You're going to see it right there. They're always in a vibe. They have bad moments. We all do, but you'll see, like, when they're playing, like, play with someone who has an imagination. Like I just had my first daughter about a month ago, and I am so excited for the moment when she starts to get into those imaginary states and like, Dad, you want to have tea time with me or this with me or whatever. Yeah. I would be like so excited to go into her world, because it's because they teach us. Children heal us. If we spend more time with children and learn how to be in their world, they'll actually heal us, because they're going to help us return back to the essence of who we are. But what we do as adults and what we do as parents, or what we do in society, is try to get them to fit into our realm and our world instead of tapping into their world, because we've forgotten what it's like to be in that world. I always tell people, I'm trying to get you back to being a kid. And I tell my clients this all the time. I'm trying to get you back to being a kid. And they're always like, what do you mean by that? Well, their kids are imaginative. They're creative. They just do whatever they want to do for fun. Remember, as a kid, did you watch a movie over and over and over again? You didn't care how many times you watched it as a kid?
Oh, I'm sure. And then I've always been around kids where they watch, Spirit or whatever 1,000 times, and everything in that movie.
Right, exactly, right. But as an adult, do you do the same thing?
No, it's always like something new, the next silver thing, right? You miss the vibe.
Right, exactly. You need that next silver lure. You need that next thing. It happens in books. It happens in this, right? We're always looking for that next. Oh. Instead, being like a kid, enjoy what you have. Like they just enjoy it over and over and over. And it's funny. I don't usually watch old movies, but since I have my daughter around, like I have my moments where, I give my wife a break. So I'm going to be with her. I'm going to spend my time with my daughter, bond with her and so forth. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back to watching old movies.
Right.
What the hell? Why not? But it's one of those things where it's just, again, being a kid. And that was the joy of being a pediatric chiropractor, because they taught me that. They taught me how to just be imaginative. And it was just funny how they're so creative in their ways. How they think. Like a kid will be like, Dr. Vic, why do you do this or this and that? I'm like, why do you think I do? Well, I think you do that because it does something with my brain. And I've had kids come up and be like, my brain, Dr. Vic, I don't know. It's I need to get an adjustment. My brain's not working right today. And I'll be like, I love this. And that's kind of I've taught them parents this, but it's just funny how they picked up on that. And it's just, again, if we learn to tap more into their world, we can learn to master the universe again. We can learn to master our lives again, because we did that back then. And you could start to see it. That's why I said age 3, 2, 3, 4. is a beautiful stage. By 4, not saying 4, 5, 6 isn't, but by 4, 5, 6, and especially 7, that's when the left brain is fully developing. And that's where we start to, we actually disconnect now from the spiritual world. That's why if you ask a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old, even a 4-year-old sometimes, if someone passed away, if a grandparent or somebody like that, they will see them and they'll tell you they see them. It happens. You can ask anybody. This sounds crazy to a lot of people, but I remember when my grandfather passed away, my nephew, he was only, 2012. So by 2014, he was like 2.5, 3 years old. And I remember he was like talking to somebody and he was just talking, people say, oh, it's just an imaginary friend. And I told my mom, like, that's not an imaginary friend. There's somebody there. We just can't see it. So I say, I got a picture. I had a feeling I've been trained in this way. So I'm like, energetically, I could feel like someone's there or something's there. So something told me I felt male energy and I felt like I saw my grandfather in my head. So I took a picture and I showed it to him. I said, are you talking this? He goes, yeah, that's Papa. Damn. He never met the guy.
Holy
cow. Never met him. He was my nephew was born in 2012. My grandfather passed in 2011. It was over a year. And so that's just again, going back into that realm of connecting to something deeper and more profound. Kids we've done it all. We just forgot our ways.
Well, I like that because then, I mean, it actually gives you kind of a destination because, like, if you do find the successful vibe or the vibe of whoever you're supposed to be, right, your higher level or whatever, then you just need to re-tap into that every morning. That's what you need to do. That's what you should be doing every day, especially if you want to get where you want to go. And it's kind of interesting because, I got ADHD. I interviewed an ADHD coach, so it's on my mind at the moment. It's like all of society is kind of ADHD in a way now with like TikTok and things like that. And it's a distraction when in reality we need to come back to the simple things where we just focus on one thing and getting where we need to go. And then we use determination and as well as all the spiritual things that you're talking about to get to where we want to go. It's a journey. It's a process. And it's so weird, isn't it? Isn't it just weird? Do you really just blow your mind with all the weird, like spiritual rabbit holes you go down and then you actually feel it and you actually see it in real world and nobody else knows what you're talking about?
Oh, I love it. It's my life, man. It's been like that for the last 15 years. I just love the mystery of life. It's so fascinating. And I think the more we as humans, in order to really lead more fulfilled lives, go back to joy and have bliss, we need to open our minds more and stop expecting to think because what our mind does is it says, oh, this is how life is, this is what it is, and this is how it, it's just my experiences. But it doesn't have to be. There can be endless possibilities. And once you start to really understand that, the science has already proven this, but once you understand that there is endless possibilities, there's endless anything that can come. Like, I love when motivational speakers are like, God created the world in 6 days. You telling me he can't change your life in a day? And I'm always like, I love that statement though, because it's really true. If you really think that your life can transform in one day, it can. I'm not saying it's going to. You have to understand that if the law of vibration comes in, you have to vibe at that level. But it is so fascinating. And once you start to know this and play with this a lot more, you can start to really, it's like playing a video game. It's really, being in that element. And you brought up something about ADHD. I was never diagnosed ADHD, but when I went to chiropractic school and learned about it more, especially my pediatric training, I was like, oh crap, I was an ADHD kid like crazy. I fit the textbook of it, all over the place, behavioral issues, daydreaming all the time, bored at school. I didn't like school because I just couldn't keep up with my speed. But most of the time, ADHD kids are very good in multiple sports because we can handle things at different levels. But there's a gift to ADHD. And I used to tell moms this all the time when they're like, my kid's ADHD, I'm so nervous, I'm worried about them. I'm like, listen, they're going to have anxiety. They may lead to depression. I go, but there are things we can do to alter that. But don't think of this as something negative. It's actually a positive. They're gifted because one of the things ADHD kids have is very high IQs. And they can compute information a lot faster and process things a lot faster. So I'm like, there's a benefit to that. So it's not all negative. There's a huge aspect to where you can, chiropractic plays a huge role in that. Chiropractic is what saved my life in every aspect. It's helped me to be able to focus. It opened the door to allow me to meditate. It opened the door to allow me to do everything that I do today, because it keeps my nervous system calm. It keeps me centered. It keeps me more resilient to handle the changes of life and help me adapt better to my environment.
Do you think there's ever a problem with going too far inside? Like you could go meditate for like 6 hours a day or whatever, and then you just like your life kind of goes somewhere else? Or is it like if you did that, your outside life would almost be better? It's like, is there a balance between the two things? In your inner world is infinitely infinite. And is that where you need to go to fix the outer world?
Well, when we use that word balance, right? Let's just look at that, right? So when we look at, like, for example, the body, a lot of times people think, well, we got to keep the body in balance. So that's homeostasis, but the body's never in balance. It's adapting all the time. Right? There's so many signals that come into the body. The universe is the same way. A lot of people say, well, the universe is balanced in a certain way. Well, yeah, overall, law of duality and the law of polarity balanced the universe out, but really it's in a constant state of flux. And it's just adapting and changing all the time. And so there's always, they always say, anything that's constant in life is change. And so, and when you understand that principle, there's balance is not really hard. It's just where you focus your energy. Can you go too far down a rabbit hole? I think you go too far down anything, but there's that, but again, what are you trying to seek and what are you trying to get to, right? Some people say, well, I want to get to enlightenment. Well, define what enlightenment is. I was one of those people. I was going to be enlightened. I wanted to get to enlightened. I wanted to get to the Christ consciousness. I wanted to be like Jesus. There was all these things. I had these constructs in my head. Now I look at enlightenment and I'm like, enlightenment's a process. It's if I think I'm in a state of enlightenment, that's my ego. And that's what I've learned over time. It's not about thinking I'm there. It's just about being in a certain place and then just being there. I can't say, oh, this is enlightenment, because now I just destroyed or minimized the energy and the influence of it. So, meditating 6 hours a day, if that's what you like to do and you believe that's what you need, then yeah, that works for you. But some people can do it in 10 to 15 or 30 minutes. And again, it comes back down to, this is why I love it when we get into like talks and spirituality and living your life. I have a quote that I say a lot, and that is, there's no rules in life except the ones you create. And that's a quantum physics perspective that comes in that. That's a spiritual truth. And that's also neuroscience shows that. And it's one of those things where you can, whatever you believe to be true is going to be true. But again, let's get back to the vibe. What makes you feel good? Right? What gets you excited? What brings that kid-like energy back? That's the stuff you want to. So if it's meditating 4 hours a day and you have that kid-like energy back, then hell, go with it and go as far as you want to go with it, because you're going to keep inspiring yourself and it's going to do everything you need to. I had friends of mine, they used to drive me nuts, energy people and spiritual people. They'd be like, I remember one of my friends, she'd be like, it's just going to, everything's going to work out for me. Everything's going to be great. No, you got to get action. This is me back in my day in the goal planning and all this kind of stage. No, you got to map this out. You got to do it. She's like, honey, no. She's like, it's all going to work. The universe has infinite bliss. And it's all going to work out for me. And I'd be looking like you're struggling financially. You don't have this, it's this, and blah, blah. And this is me stuck in that conditioned world. And I look back now and I look at her life and I'm like, crap, I wish I took some more time to learn in her world, because that's what I'm teaching now. Yeah. Right? Now I'm like, crap, it is all that vibe. Because literally, everything has panned out in so many ways in the way she needed to. Even when you could have looked at it from a logical perspective and showed, oh, this is not working. Look at this, look at that. You're in a business. Look at this and that. And it just turns around. And all of a sudden it just worked out. And it's just like, how the heck? But now going through the work, I look back and go, I know exactly what it was. And that's, again, coming back to the vibe, coming back to that vibration and so much more. But yeah, you can go as deep as you like, but it's that childlike energy that what matters. That's how we know we're in a state of alignment when it comes to our soul's purpose of why we're here and what we're here to experience.
Yeah, that's powerful. I guess the question I was thinking to make it a little clearer was like imagine if you have a problem in the real world, and you wanted to fix it. Do you think the medicine, right, since you're a doctor, would it be to go inside and find the vibration and then come out into the real world and go forth with that vibration of it being figured out? Is that like a way to solve problems in a hippy dippy way? Well,
there's science that proves it. You look, here's a hermetic principle. The inner world makes the outer world, right? So that's, I think, 4,000 years ago or something like that. But long story short, your inner world creates your outer world. So if you have chaos in the outer world, it's the inner world that's chaotic. If you have a disorganized world, if your life is disorganized, your mind's disorganized. It's your inner world is disorganized. So you get that in alignment. You get that to what you want it to be. That could be the vibe. That can be, structures and systems, whatever you have to do. But looking within, once you correct it, then the outer world's going to reflect that. It's just law. And again, that relates to law of vibration. That relates back to being the beingness of what you need to be, not the doingness. It's in our own statement. Wayne Dyer talked about this. We're human beings. We're not human doers. I love that statement by him. Yeah, because it's so true. We're taught to be doers, not beers. And that's why this advice I share is so foreign to so many. And it's not because I'm a crazy person. You're talking to someone again. I always have to defend myself. And I'm like, I'm a type A driver personality. If you don't know what that is, that's someone who is task oriented, logical. Everything has to be a certain way. But at the same token, I've also learned over time that there's a whole nother side to this. There's a whole nother path.
Right.
And either one you choose is right. It's not like it's wrong, because if you think you're right, you think you're not, well, you're right. If you think this is going to work, or you think that's going to work, it's going to work. It comes back to you again. But the inner world does create the outer world. And this happens in so many ways. Like I was giving a relationship advice, and it relates to what we're talking about. And this person was just like, I don't know why this person's like this, blah, 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 blah. And I said, so where in your relationship with yourself do you talk that way? And how do you see yourself in that way? And they were like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you're saying this about that person. I'm like, where do you say that about yourself? And at first it was, we had to work through some stuff. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh crap, that's like my inner critic. And I'm like, exactly. I mentioned inner critic to them before. And they're like, I'm like, so let's look at that. And so, who taught you that this is how relationships should be? Blah, blah, blah. And I went through this whole thing. And once we started working on their own relationship with themselves, all of a sudden their actual outer relationship started to make big changes.
Everything we're saying, I feel like, is a mic drop, man. We're just blowing my mind, blowing everybody's listening mind out there. Let's imagine that this was like a muscle, right? So what would you recommend listeners and people out there? What would it be like? What would your workout be? Like, what would your regimen of recommendation? Like, get in the vibe, like visualize, like, do you have a process that you kind of do? Or
I'll share what I do. And this is what I kind of recommend to my clients a lot. So every morning I do a meditation, but you don't have to do a meditation. This can take you 1 minute to do. But mine's incorporated in the meditation with everything. But it's just getting into a state of something that brought joy to you, whatever that can be. Now that can be something, it could have been like, for me, there's a lot of examples in sports. Right now, it's the easiest. I have a daughter. I just imagine seeing myself holding her in my hands, and that excitement and joy I get within. I'm like, I can get there like this. Nice. And then it's just embracing myself into that moment of that feeling. And then seeing myself into the future. What do I want to create? Who do I want to be? What does that look like? What kind of life is that? Again, going back to the senses, pulling that in, but then pulling that emotion in with it, getting that excitement to there, right? Cool. And then just get excited, and then just stay there until all of a sudden you'll just feel like I usually get like an emptiness, and then I'll be like, all right, I'm good. I hit the point. I'm good now. I'm ready to go for the day. I'm so excited to take on this day, and your vibe will be different, and you'll notice that. And it's a feeling again, but that's a simple practice to do, just to get yourself in a good state. And for those who never done this before, a lot of my clients, I try to recommend like 4 to 5 times a day. Because you're so used to getting caught in your own patterns that we're trying to just start to shift that vibe, shift that energy. And so it only takes a minute. I mean, how quick? I mean, you could think of something very quickly that makes you excited, or something that you love that makes you feel very appreciative, or a state of gratitude. We all have them. And if you don't have them, I can name 1,000 things that you could be grateful for right now. If you're listening to this podcast, you're grateful for listening to this podcast, or you're grateful for having the opportunity to listen to a podcast. Having the phone, or having it on the computer or laptop, tablet, whatever it is that you listen this to. Being grateful just to have that opportunity, right? So there's so many things we can be grateful for. And it's just getting you into that energy and that state. And then just constantly reinforcing that into there, because your vibe, every time you wake up in the morning, your mind's in the past. And a lot of times we either think of our past experiences, don't realize it, then our emotions come in, or we wake up in a certain emotion and we build our thoughts off of that. And this is where this kind of work just clears all that and gets you right in. So like I said, I do a meditation, and for it's 24 minutes. And in about half of that meditation is just me soaking in on that good vibe of my, getting into the state of mind, seeing my daughter. And then, so it gets me in that state. And then I start to see my future self and what I want to create, and just add to that. And I just keep going and going and going and adding. And I just keep visualizing more and more and more of what I want to experience, who I want to be, what kind of life I want to lead, and who I want to become. And I just get soaked into that, and I use all the senses. And I'm usually riding high after that. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go for the day. I don't even drink coffee. Well, I have coffee, but it's decaf. But it's just one of those things where I'm ready to go. And it's because I set the vibe so that it gets me inspired to get rocking for the day.
That's cool. I like that you said that you tell people like 4 or 5 times a day, because then you're constantly in that vibe. And that's like the fastest way to manifest, or whatever, we're talking about here. That's crazy, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show today. Let's talk a little bit about the workshop that you got going on the 17th.
Yeah. So I got this workshop coming up. It's all about maximizing your performance through spirituality. So I'm going to be talking about universal laws. I'm going to get into quantum physics and neuroscience to apply ways to kind of what we're talking about here, but how you can really create effortless action to create effortless success. And I'll be tying it in with elements to how to make more money, how to be successful, but you can take these principles and pull them into any aspect of your life because they're universal. I'm excited to share this. This is one of the first ones I'm going to be doing, and it's on the 17th. It's like 6 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be online. And we have limited spots available, but it's really going to be something to kind of, if you're liking what we've been talking about today, this is going to be really a big game changer. And I'm bringing in a lot of science because, like I said earlier, we live in a very information era. So we're so stuck in our left brain. So a lot of what I do when I talk right side principles, which is like spirituality and things like that, I always pull something from the left side, which is science-based in some way, shape, or form, to connect those two, to bridge the gap. So that way, if you're like, I don't like this, well, then I can go here. And one of the ways I can explain this is when I used to talk about auras back when I was in chiropractic school, a lot of people thought that was crazy talk. And for those who don't know what auras are, those are like a light that radiates around us. We all have different colors and different levels of it and so forth. I remember telling this to people sometimes, and they'd be like, auras, that's that spirit, that's that woo-woo stuff. I'm like, all right, well, how about biophotonic field? How's that? And they're like, what the heck is that? Yeah. And they're like, what's that? I'm like, it's the same thing. It's just, that's the science term. Science found out that we have this biophotonic field around us, that we found out plants have it. They found out animals have it. Well, guess what? The spiritual world has been saying that in the spirits, back in the day, they talked about that for who knows how long. Everything has one, but now we have science to support that. So I'm like, you can choose whatever one you like. Again, it's the same thing. It doesn't, it's just like when we get into like God or universe, I'm like, call it whatever you like. The label doesn't matter. It's just what works for you. That's what matters at the end of the day. Right. Same thing here. Aura, biophotonic, whatever you like. But so I'll be presenting a lot of those kind of concepts in the workshop.
We do get so like obsessed with labels and like the quickest answer or whatever. That's just our human brain just trying to figure it out. That's awesome, man. Who's like your desired customer? Who's your perfect avatar? Is it like business owners? I guess you said high performance, right? So people that want to perform better while using spirituality, or what do you think?
It could be anybody, really. I mean, it's anyone who's a business owner who wants to break away from the rat race, who's tired of the uphill battle, who's exhausted from and tired of being burned out. I mean, I was reading an article on Forbes. 60% of leadership is burned out. 60%. Yeah. That's a high number, right? And these are people that are passionate about what they do. I was one of them. Every 4 to 6 months, I get burned out. I'd be tired at the end of the day instead of energized. That's an early sign of burnout. And it was so anyone who's in those states who want to learn something different to achieve success in a different way. It doesn't have to be what we've been told on the grind, the hustle, the putting more effort gets you more success. To learn a different way to choose your success. And something I talk a lot about, have your cake and eat it too. Because you've always been told you can't have your cake and eat it too, but actually you can. And how can you do that? And that's kind of the people that I look forward to working with, because we can, once we break through some of these limiting beliefs, break through some of this conditioning, we can get them to a place where they can really see the true power and be aware of their power of how they can choose. And now we return them back to that kid-like, which is a creator, someone who can imagine what they want to have and manifest that into the world, the physical world, and do so much more.
Wow. That sounds badass. So I just want to ask a question, because I think I have to basically, but so you have to find the vibe, right? And then how do you find, I guess, I don't know if it's like faith or something, but like just that this is one of the hardest things I think about all the spirituality and all that stuff, is just letting go and then accepting that it's going to work out, right? If you do these processes, and then you just have to have faith in a higher power or something like that. I mean, is that what you believe in? Is that what you kind of find in all your teachings?
Here's the thing. When it comes to letting go, the reason why it's so hard for us and hard for our intellect to do that is because humans don't like uncertainty.
Right.
We just don't like the uncertainty. And so you're going to go into a realm of uncertainty. That's uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And when you don't have faith in the process, you actually don't have faith in yourself, because you have to remember, again, going back to the essence of who you are. You got to remember who you are. You're a creator. You were made in the likeness and image of God. You create, you can create things. You are an author, the producer, and all those things that people say, you are that. And so once you understand that power, the problem with people when it comes to manifesting is we have attachments to the outcome. And the way it works is not like that. There's a quote that I was listening to from Abraham Hicks, and she said something that was profound. And I love this because it's so true. And I'll ask you this question. Do you ever worry about the sun not coming up?
No.
No, right? Do you ever worry about not having the ocean just drying out? You haven't seen it, so it's just totally gone. No, that the ocean's there. I didn't go to the beach for a couple of years. I went to Florida in April, but I was like, even though I haven't seen an ocean, I know they're still there. I don't have to, if I didn't see the sun for a week, I still know it's there. Right. That's called abundance mindset, abundance focus. And what that means is that, like, when it comes to understanding how this whole abundance thing works, if you have scarcity mindset, you're going to think trusting the process and do that. No, I have to take control, right? You have a lack of uncertainty and you think there's a scarcity to things. So you have to do things. When there's abundance, you don't have to worry about it. It's right. Letting go of that attachment. Like, it was a huge game changer for me, because it was like, yeah, the abundance process. I don't think of the sun. I don't think of this. Why am I worrying about money? Why am I worrying about this? If there's truly abundance and I'm the creator of my life, then from that moment, I just need to let go, let God. Like people say, let go, let God. But it's one of those things of just letting go and knowing that there's a greater force, because we haven't been taught. We've been told, it's starting to come out more, and I'm happy to see it. It's been a slow process, but it's happening, that, the universe, God, Allah, really is just a universal catalog. And you just get to choose. When you start to understand the relationship between who we are as a soul and God or Allah, universe, all that is, you understand that whatever we experience, it experiences more about itself. So it doesn't matter what you choose. Like, good and bad doesn't exist. It's just an experience, and from a spiritual perspective. And so when you're choosing what you want to experience, it's going to bring it to you. It's going to give you whatever you choose to experience, because it doesn't care. It wants to have the human experience. It wants to learn. We were created out of a need, not a want, from a soul perspective. I may be getting a little deep here, so if I am, just cut me off here. But
I keep going.
So, but understanding that, I'm just trying to really go deep on this aspect of understanding who you really are, because when you start to understand that power and understand who you really are, then it's like, if I really don't think the universe is here to support me and love me and give me what I need for what I choose to want to have, then I don't have faith in who I am. And you can believe that you don't have that faith, and you'll see that as your reality, or you can believe and have that faith, and you'll see that, wow, yeah, you'll see that reality also. It comes back to the Henry Ford statement. If you think you can, if you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah. I'm going to be thinking about that for forever. This is your fault, man. So you said that Hinduism, Jesus, whoever it is, they're all out there, right? They're their own entity. They have their own energy, and we're able to go and maybe tap in and feel that energy, right? And if we want to bring that into our lives, they want to bring it back. That's so profound, man. That means that, all the spirituality things are correct in their own light. They're their own consciousness. They're their own energy. They're their own thing that we can tap into at any time that we want and bring that into our reality. And they want to be part of this reality because they are a divine energy that is always there, that we can tap into at any moment. I don't think you said that exactly, but that's where my brain went with it. And that's crazy.
That's another element to it. But yeah, but what I was speaking on is God itself. But you can take those other avatars and those other people that you call upon them. They're there. Past loved ones.
Like you said, catalog. That's the word that got me thinking of it.
Yeah, the universe catalog. The universe catalog is more relating to, like, if you want to choose this experience, because here's the thing we have in our world. Like, when we look at our world, like technology and where we are today, we're like, oh, we didn't have computers back then. Now we do. Well, you have to understand that everything in this world already exists. Mm-hmm. Everything. You can think of the most far out there stuff. It already exists. Yeah. The only thing is we just haven't manifested into our world to put it together. When you looked at, putting a computer together, we didn't, all the stuff that they put the computer together, that stuff all those raw materials always existed. Mm-hmm. It's just, how do we put it together? The same thing is when it comes to the universe. The universe is there, everything, all dimensions, everything exists already. And so the universe catalog has endless, infinite possibilities. You name it, they're endless. You choose which one you want to experience. It's that simple. But humans, what we do with our minds is we complicate things, and we continue to complicate things. Look at our life now. Life is so complicated. I was on a podcast just before a couple hours ago, and it was one of those things where we're talking about, got onto relationships, and we were talking about the complexity of a relationship. And I said, we make relationships so complex. They don't have to be that way. They don't have to be. We make life so complex. We make business so complex. We make so many things complex. Again, if I can share a very strong message on this, go look at how children do it. Just look at a 3-4-year-old. Just study them. Let them be your teacher. Just let them be your teacher for a month. Watch what they do. You're going to see they don't do all these complex things. They're in the being already. So then they just do. And look how happy they are. Look at the joy they find in things.
Yeah.
There's a reason behind that. And if we can tap more into that. But the stuff you were kind of sharing about, like tapping into Jesus, Krishna, Buddha, or any of these other individuals, even past loved ones, that's just channeling. You can channel their energy and tap into it. And you can download stuff from them. I know this sounds crazy, but you can download stuff from them to learn and help and support you. It's the same thing as praying to a saint or anything in Catholicism. I was raised Roman Italian Catholic. And it's the same thing. You pray to a saint, you pray to whatever may be. In Hinduism, they have their demigods or the deities, the multiples, but it doesn't matter what. But you can ask, for guidance, and you can just, I used to do this with Jesus because, again, Jesus was a big, profound person for me, to tap into his energy, who he really is, his true soul, and just, be able to sometimes just to be in the aspect of his energy of love, which he came here to speak a lot, share a lot of. And or tap into Buddha's mind. How did Buddha see the world? I want to get, how can I get to that level to tap into? How did he see a problem? Or tap into Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu is a very big somebody for me. He's the creator of Taoism, and he sometimes I have some problems or something I'm facing. I'll tap into Lao Tzu. And it's funny, I'll see his face come into my, it's a picture in your mind. It's not like, and all of a sudden I'll feel like, and you have to get used to what comes to you. This sounds crazy, but we can all do this. And it's just tapping in, and all of a sudden I'll get this piece of advice and I'm like, holy cow, man, I needed to hear that. And again, what confirmed that? A feeling I got, right? My stomach gets a certain feeling. That's how I know I'm getting a message. So it confirms whatever I'm hearing is not in my head. It's actually something I'm getting. And I've done this over years to develop this, but we all have it. We all are gifted in this way. We can all do these kind of things.
Wow. Blown away, bro. There's so much there. Dropping the gems, just dropping them everywhere. What would be your advice to simplify your life? How does someone take these practices to get away from all of the clutter of life and start to make it more simple?
No, the most simplest thing is, what makes you excited like a kid again? What do you want to experience? What do you want to choose to have? What do you want? Right. And get away from the conditioning. If you say you want something, then why do you want it? Why is that important to you? What does that give to you in your life? How does that add more to your life? Right. Because a lot of times, if like you think of business, a lot of people want more money. They want more success. Sometimes they want the big car, the big house, the nice car, the fancy toys and all that good stuff. But why do you want that? What's the importance of that? What is that? Because a lot of times what you want is what other people want and not what you want. And most of the time, those other things, the material things you want is actually filling a void. It's not really what, like for me, I remember when I had one of my wife's, her sisters, one of their boyfriend, her boyfriend, they were, I got to meet him and he was like, oh, he's a doctor. He's like, where's your BMW? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you're a doctor. You make money. So where's your BMW? You got to have like a BMW, Mercedes. What do you have? I'm like, I don't have any of that. He goes, why not? I was like, who told you that I have to have that? Right. He had a thought process in his mind. I did too when I was growing up. I thought doctors would always drive Mercedes or BMWs. But in my world, I can give two craps about those kind of things. Right. I like pickup trucks. I love having a souped up pickup truck, not because I want to look cool or to fill a void. I think it's a cool thing. It's just cool to me. I get excited like a kid. Like, that's so cool. I have a look at this pickup truck. I have this, it's on a vision board of mine where I have a pickup truck that goes faster than a Lamborghini. It's 1,000 horsepower. And I'm like, eventually when I'm ready, when I want to go splurge on something like that, I will. But right now I'm in a place where I'm like, I'm not pulled or want to have that. I may never want to get it. I just think it's cool, but it's one of those things where I'm like, but that's a vision I have down the road. If I ever do want to get that, I will. But if if you ask me now, like I had a daughter and my whole values changed. Now I'm like, I don't care about the car. I don't care about that or having that pickup truck or certain other things. How can I create more experiences for my daughter and create more meaningful things in life? And it's just fascinating. I was already doing some of it, but it took it to a whole nother level. Wow. But answering your question again, I know I'm going off on a tangent. It's really coming back to, again, what makes you feel kid-like again? Excitement. Yeah. That's it. It doesn't have to be all this other stuff. Just go there. Because again, why is that important? Well, what does it do? It raises your vibe, right? And it's going to get you excited. You're going to be in joy. You're going to be inspired, right? Those are all extremely high vibrational emotions or emotions that are high vibration. And then from there, that's when you, whatever does that, follow that and just continue to do that. And don't let your mind and the baggage you have from your past self-sabotage what you're trying to create for your future. Because that's what we do. That's why a lot of people don't do what they love. They just do whatever pays the bills, or makes them have more money in that, or I'll just sacrifice what I want to do in life or what I love to do to just make more money and be successful and so forth. And then they find out 10, 20, 30 years down the road, they're unfulfilled, unhappy. And that's why you see so much between the age of 49 to 57, I think it was 56, 57, where you have midlife crises. Well, because you've been doing stuff that's not fulfilling to you. Right. You can fake it in the beginning. You're not going to be fake. You can't fake it in the long term. You can BS yourself all you want when you're young. You ain't going to be able to do that as you get older, because eventually you can either, live that. Like I always say, my dad used to say, people with money are very, they're not happy, because that's how the view he had on the world with them. But one of the things I saw and I took from this over time is I was like, man, how many millionaires really are doing what they love? They're millionaires. They're making money, but there's sacrifice. There's all these other things that comes to it. Are they really doing what they love? And I've the percentage that I've met in my life that are truly kid-like, who are very successful financially. And I haven't had, not that I've had a massive, amount of experience or people to connect with on that, but it wasn't big. It was, they were just like, I'm grinding. This is what I'm doing. They're all excited about their work, but you can see the other side. They have their exhaustion. They're burned out, or they have those other things coming in. And those are signs you're not in alignment with what you love to do.
Yeah, that's wild. Well, man, this was a very cool podcast. I think we just busted out of here. So I got two questions that I always ask people that come on the show. But before we get to those, what are the best ways for people to get in contact with you online? How can they get into your world and just kind of reach out and, learn more about you and what you do?
Yeah. So the best is my website. It's my hub for everything. That is empoweryourreality.com. You can see a little tab there called free resources. You can get into my podcast. I got a free ebook on visualization and a bunch of other things there. If what I shared resonated with you, I do a free coaching call, 30 minutes, hop on, see what your dreams, your challenges, the things you face. And I'll give you 1 or 2 steps of what you can do to move closer towards it. And then if I know I can help you, I'll share how I can do that. And then social media wise, on the bottom left corner of my website, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. I post about 5-6 times a day, something that's related to spirituality, mindset, money, relationship, maybe something informational always, and try to create information that creates transformation. But yeah, if you have any questions, you like what I was talking about, or you have questions on what I shared, DM me. I always read my DMs and love to respond to them.
I like it, man. I like it. So the first question I ask is, what motivates you? What really fires you up? What kind of gets you going?
Being the best version of myself every day. That inspires me, because when I can do that, I can be the best for everyone else. My wife, my family, my kid, my little daughter, my clients and everything. I'm high on life. And I know that some people sounds like a cliche, but I really am. You can ask my wife. I wake up first thing in the morning and I'm ready to go. She's like, I don't know how you're just always most time ready to go. You get up and you're like, boom, let's go. She's like, what happens to you? I'm like, I'm excited. It's a new day. Let's go. I got things to do today. This is it's a blessing. Yeah. So that excites me every day, having an opportunity to experience something new for the day.
And then the second habit, the keyword is impact. So what's one habit that you started doing that you genuinely, had an impact on your life and you could see the results and things started to move forward?
Meditation was the biggest thing. It has helped me outside of chiropractic. Meditation is the biggest thing, because it has helped me to connect with myself. I use meditation for so many things. It's, I can get into the science of the mind and what it does and the health benefits, but the reason why I use meditation and what it has done for me is just connecting with myself. And the more I can connect with myself is a lot better than I can connect with others. And meditation also helps me become aware of my mental blocks or my blind spots or the things I need to work on, because when I see a pattern show up in my life, I can go meditate. And then all of a sudden, it may not be in the moment, but it'll show up later in my life where all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's the solution for this. Or, man, here's that great idea I could come up with. Or, wow, I didn't see myself being that way. Or, here's the conditioning I had that came from that process. And it's like, oh man, I didn't realize that it was like that. Wow, this is great. Now I can start working on this. And so it's become it's my connection to life in sense, because you are life. I mean, you're life, I'm life. And to go there every day, because I meditate every day, it has helped me become a better human. It has helped me to be more compassionate for others and compassionate to myself. and just to enjoy the beauty of life, of what life has to offer. And so it's made me better in all aspects of my life. And that's why I continue to practice it every single day.
I would like to go a little deeper on that. I know it's kind of a personal question, I guess, but like, how do you meditate? What is your practice? Do you have a mantra? Do you visualize? Do you do what is your preferred method? I guess it doesn't have to go like, we don't have to do a whole experiment, but just what's it like?
Yeah, for me, it varies. I mean, I meditate. Sometimes it's 10, 15 minutes, and sometimes it's 30 to 45 minutes. Most of the time it's just listening to music, but I set the intention before I go in. So I meditate and I have an infrared sauna and I'll meditate in there. I made that my like meditated space. And so I just set the intention of what I'm looking at. Sometimes it's just to connect with self. Sometimes it's a bliss out. Sometimes it's to get information. Sometimes it's to that. But it's usually listening to some sort of music. Sometimes I'll do mantras. I don't have like a direct one that I'll do all the time. It's just whatever I feel that I need to, whatever I need to do in that moment. Again, going back to that feeling and then thinking, okay, what's the meditation I want to do today? And then I'll just start thinking of it, or sometimes it just comes to me and it's like, all right, we're going with this. Sometimes it's guided. I'll be like, okay, I'm going with a guided today. I feel like that's what I need to do. And again, trusting that process and then just doing that. But yeah, the range is usually like 10, 15 minutes, like 35 to 45.
I like that. I don't set intent before I meditate. I usually just say, I'm going to shut my mind up and breathe and, and do my weird little thing. I like that. Set an intent before you meditate. That's really profound too, man. That's cool.
Because go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
No, I was going to say, because it's like sometimes if I need advice on something and I'm really feeling like I need some advice, I'm hitting a wall. So then I'll just set the intention before I go in that, whoever is here that's going to help guide me in this way, please, I'm going to go into my state. May you please come and present information that can help me in any way, shape, or form. I greatly appreciate it. And thank you for your time and taking time to share that with me. And then I just go into the meditation. I don't have any expectations of anything. Sometimes I'll get the answer there, or sometimes I'll get it later, but it's very cool how it always works. It's so cool.
Yeah. That is one of the weirdest things about life. It's like, if you have a problem, you can just get quiet and ask for an answer and it'll eventually show up. It's very weird. I think everything we talked about was a little weird today, but I love this stuff, man. This feels more like real life than what most people say is real life. It's very interesting because you got to go down rabbit holes. You got to learn it for yourself. It's not something that you can, of course there's tons of books, but until you actually try and do it, and you actually implement it. I would encourage everybody who listened to the podcast today to try some meditation. Definitely check out Mr. Victor's workshop on the 17th as well, if you want to go deep into this stuff and check out his podcast. I appreciate you, man. You have some last thoughts for the audience or anything else you want to?
Hey, we went through a lot today.
Did, man.
Trying to think. Just have faith in yourself. Know that you are more powerful than you could ever imagine. And one thing is that there is no technology out there that can to determine your limit of what you can do and what you can achieve in your life. That's just a fact that we're limitless in what we do and who we are. And to understand that you can, if I can share one truth, is that, and I've shared this already in the podcast, but if you can see it in your mind's eye, that's your potential. If you can imagine it, that's your potential. Doesn't matter how crazy it is. If you can imagine it, that's your potential. So knowing that, living that truth that you are that powerful and you're worthy of it too. Don't forget that.
You're worth healing. You're worth doing all the work so that you can get the Lamborghini truck. All right, man. Well, I think that was it. I really appreciate everybody listening. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, put the comments out there. I think everybody needs to hear this one. So if you enjoyed it, leave a 5-star review on the social medias that you found it on, and just tell somebody about it. Share it with a friend, and go follow Victor on social media and get some more insight on this stuff. I really appreciate everybody, and thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, brother. I really enjoyed it.
All right. Bye, everybody. Talk to you in the next one.